Letting my ex-husband drown in attorney fees, by user. After 5 years of marriage and endless false promises, I finally get my personal revenge. My ex-husband, 32, and I, 33, got married in 2017 after 1 year of long-distance relationship between the US and Germany. We sealed the deal, got married in the US, and he wanted me to live with him in the good old US of A, because he didn't wanted to learn another language. To make things easier, he moved in with me in Germany for a job I helped him to get, so we would have time to finalize my plans for emigration and immigration. Now my ex didn't even got started to gather all required documents for himself to be my sponsor. Said and done, I had all documents well sorted out, cancelled all my contracts, sold my belongings, sent large parts of my things to the US, and said goodbye to my lovely home, friends, and family. Little did I know, my ex-husband did not do a single bit of research or even did his part for my immigration process, and I wasn't able to set foot on the plane that would bring me to my new home. Long story short, he left to the US without me, and I was homeless, with a suitcase and 2 cats. He continued to lead me on with promises to come and get me. Meanwhile, he started a polyamorous affair. Later he got involved with a 21-year-old young lady. I lived with my parents for a few months, to get back on my feet. Find a new apartment and a new source of income. Now, I never went to German officials to get our marriage recognized in Germany, mostly, because I didn't think it was necessary, because we planned to live together in the US. But my laziness should be proven to be useful later. Since he was with his new girlfriend, 21, I broke up the relationship. In the US we still count as married, and focused on myself, regaining my independence and rebuild my life in my home country. I fell in love with an acquaintance, 31, I've known for 13 years, and we soon found that we have very much the same goals in life and the very same ideals and wishes for a monogamous life. Meanwhile, I've been in contact with my ex to finally get him to start the divorce in the US. Since the marriage was closed in the US, only a US citizen is able to petition for the divorce at the district court. I didn't want my name to be further affiliated with him, and I also didn't see the reason why he should further profit from tax benefits. I made clear I didn't wanted this anymore and wanted to move on. Finally he got a process started and forgot one single thing. I am not an American citizen. So everything that applies in the US when it comes to paperwork, doesn't apply to me in Germany. Means, serving me via email? Nope. Wanting me to sign something electronically? Nope, not possible. All they would have to do is to send me the notarized, signed, and translated paperwork via physical mail. But they don't. So I get email after email with pleas to get me to sign the US divorce papers electronically. With every mail his lawyer sends me, his pay ramps up. Don't get me wrong, I certainly told the lawyer what he has to do in order to get me to sign a legally significant piece of paper, but I guess he doesn't know international laws. So at this point my ex still sits on all of my belongings I asked him to give back, and since he doesn't do that, I'll keep collecting spam mails from his lawyer. That's my personal revenge for leading me on, using my hopeless romantic heart and leaving me alone when things went hard. I don't count as married in Germany and am currently expecting a little baby boy with my partner, and we are building a life together without false promises. Edit. Wow, I didn't thought I'd get much of a response. For some I'm stupid, an idiot, and for some I did get myself into that situation. Which is fine to claim, but I never denied accountability. I learned my part, and just because the marriage just gets divorced in the US, because he has to file for it, doesn't mean we haven't been separated for much longer. Was I stupid? Yes, absolutely. Am I wrong for moving on with a new partner with 33? No, absolutely not. Edit 2, I will report threats to me and my life immediately. You are entitled to your opinion and nobody is keeping you from voicing this opinion under this post. But threatening me over DM is a new low, dear incels. You really think I'm scared of some internet basement dwellers? Dude, I've been on 9gag and you think a threat could somewhat intimidate me? Screenshot 20220905-181043 reddit.jpg. A picture is worth 1,000 burns, by user blatantly ridiculous. So, I had been with Ben for 18 years before I'd finally had enough and asked for a divorce. He moved several hours away near his mom. Also meant he left me to raise our kids by myself with little child support and never seeing the kids. I decided it was time to have a family portrait done as it had been a while. We went and had a sitting. As we were looking through the digital images to pick out what to order, my oldest asked if we could send one to Grandma, his mother. I told her that I didn't think Grandma would want a picture worth me in it, but I would be happy to order her a picture of just the kids on it. My oldest swore grandma would want me in the pics and always made sure to ask about me and how I was doing. Heard from Ben's best friend that he hated the fact his mom told him he screwed up the best thing that ever happened to him and that she still remained friends with me on FB. I was kind of surprised. My ex was extremely verbally and emotionally abusive to me during our marriage, which is why I ended it. I never knew his mom actually thought so highly of me. Only ever saw her a couple days a year at Christmas. No issues, just never grew close. So my oldest calls up grandma right there in the studio and asks her if she'd want a picture with me in it or with just the kids. Grandma asked specifically for a picture with all of us, including me. So, I decided to order her a nice glossy 8x10 that I had matted and framed and mailed that to her. Apparently she hung it right in the entryway, where every time my ex walks in, he sees my smiling face staring back at him. LOL. I just wish I could have seen the expression on his face the first time he saw it. Never thought I'd be so happy to catch my ex-wife cheating, by user redditadmindum87. I'm not even sure if this qualifies as revenge, I think it does, but I'll let the public be the judge. First off, this story occurred many years ago. Let me give you a rundown of the laws around divorce where we lived at the time. Both parties need to agree to the divorce unless one party can prove the other party is at fault. This would mean something akin to cheating. There are also other reasons, but cheating falls into this. Now I honestly shouldn't have married my ex-wife, but I was young, dumb, full of cum, she was pretty and I did what I did. So after our first year of marriage I came to the conclusion I wanted to end our marriage. It wasn't working out for many reasons. However, my ex-wife did not want to divorce. Her life was better being married to me, than without me, and I think she was trying to hold on to that. But there was no love. My ex-wife set a price of $100,000 to agree to a divorce. This does happen here, where if one party wants a divorce and the other doesn't, the party that doesn't want the divorce comes up with a cash payment they want and you negotiate from there. Now I didn't have $100,000, I could get about $25,000, and I was willing to pay that. Also, we had no kids, we didn't own anything together etc. We spent a long time going back and forth over money and how much I'd pay her to divorce me. She finally agreed. I was thrilled. I was so happy. I decided I would go out and celebrate, and that night the stars aligned. Now to give you an idea of utterly lucky I am about to get, we lived in a city about the size of Chicago, many millions of people, lots of places to go. My friend took me to a new bar in a part of the city I had never been to before. We celebrated, we had a good time. I walk out the bar around 2:30 a.m. and it was like fucking Christmas. There was my wife, with another man. I had a hunch she was cheating on me, and I was so happy. She was heading for a taxi and I ran and got into a taxi behind her and told the cab driver to follow them. Much to my enjoyment, the taxi was clearly going to my house. She gets out, I pull out the camera and I get a few pictures of kissing this man. Once I get the photos I immediately email them to my work account to protect them, and I get out the car and I approach the two lovebirds. I introduce myself, I thank the kind gentleman and I make one request. If they want to have sex, don't have sex in my house, but that's all. I then hand her lover my business card, I thank him for all the money he's saved me and tell him if he ever wants to go grab a beer I'd be happy to buy him a few rounds. I then wish the two lovebirds all the best and go upstairs and head to bed. To say my ex-wife was livid was understatement. However, the next morning she pointed out something, and I have no idea how strong her agreement could be in a courtroom, but it did concern me. She said since we already agreed to divorce, it wasn't really cheating. And I would still have to pay her. Well, that afternoon I get a phone call. It's my ex-wife boyfriend. He apologized for sleeping with my ex-wife. I told him no worries. He then said he'd like to talk to me. We agree to meet up and we do. Turns out he had previously been cheated on, and apparently my ex-wife lied to him about his relationship status. She said we were waiting for our divorce to be finalized, which was not true, and that she didn't live with me anymore, which was not true. He also asked me if I had sex with her in the last 6 months and I said I did. Turns out their relationship had begun about 6 months prior and they were sexually active with each other. And she told him she wasn't having sex with anyone, especially me. Whoops. I asked him if he had any documentation of them dating and he goes yeah. He ended up sending me all the pictures he took of them together, some of which included him kissing her etc. He also sent me numerous screenshots of text messages between her and him, some of which included her clearly lying about her relationship status with me. I put all of this in a folder, and backed it up to numerous places to include a USB drive which I hide in my office at work in case she found a way to delete the data, which she never did. I then went to my ex-wife and I had a sit-down with her. I went over the mountain of evidence I had against her. Option A, she agreed to a non-contested divorce. I will give her 30 days to move out, she gets nothing from me and I get nothing from her. Option B, I get a lawyer and I sue the living crap out of her, get a massive judgment against, still get my divorce, and saddle her with a ton of debt for the rest of her life. She agreed to the non-contested divorce. That was on a Saturday. That Monday we went to the courthouse filed for divorce. This started her 30 days. I shacked up with my buddies so I could be out of her way. We had a court hearing a few weeks later. Judge made it clear we were doing a non-contested divorce. Once he stamps the divorce decree we have to report this to City Hall and our divorce will be finalized. Us not having kids or property make it quick and easy. We both agreed, we both signed. Judge stamped the documents. I eagerly grabbed my divorce decree and rushed to City Hall to report my divorce and wham, bam, thank you ma'am, I was a free man. I actually ended up becoming friends with the guy that was banging my wife and we still talk today. Although over COVID-19 pandemic our relationship got distant but not because of a falling out or anything, just not talking to each other. TLDR wife didn't want divorce, I wanted divorce, she wanted money, she was going get money, then I caught her cheating on me. I got the divorce I wanted, she got nothing. Left my job after I was passed over for a new role for the boss's friend who had been there 3 months, by user pink_banana_mama. FYI, this is a bit of a read and I'm not sure if petty revenge, but I enjoyed it. I had been working at a call center for almost 5 years. I had stuck with them through the pandemic when all but 4 members of our team quit and I had worked hard on helping my manager train all of the new staff. I had just finished training 2 new recruits and had to rearrange my childcare and hours just to be in the office every day to do so. With no extra pay for all of my additional duties. Both of them used to work with the head of ops. A senior role came up and I, along with one of the other people that stayed through the pandemic, let's call them A, applied. I had lots of encouragement from my manager who was the one that conducted the interview for the new role. As well as one of the new recruits we had just finished training. A and I were both passed over for the new recruit who had literally been in his previous role for all of 3 months. When I questioned my manager, they advised that the head of ops had no input in the interviewing process. So we both handed in our notice immediately. We both got new jobs lined up very quickly. A left with immediate effect but I stayed to work my notice. Around the same time a couple of the new guys quit too for other reasons and the team was left severely depleted with not enough people to do the work. My manager spent the whole of my notice period being too angry at me to even talk to me and they didn't even bother do an exit interview but asked me on my final day to send them an email to explain why I was not staying. At no point during my notice period did they ask me to stay. Well, within a week of me starting my new job I got a text from my ex-manager asking me to come back and when I declined the head of ops also texted me asking me to come back. They both then contacted me a month later again to see if I was happy with my new job and to see if I would consider returning to my old job. I declined again and I have to say it was the most satisfying feeling for the way that they had treated me. No, this is not your email address, by user Dirthere. There is a lady named Irene who does not seem to be able to understand the concept that my email address is not hers. She gives it out constantly, and repeated efforts to explain to her that she has it wrong have gone unheeded. Strong boomer energy from this one. As a result, I know she lives down in the US, she banks at Chase. She drives a Toyota RAV4 that is due for an oil change, and she seems to be having some medical issues down there. Irene, if you see this, call your doctor, she sounds concerned. I have repeatedly asked the various people involved to please inform Irene that she is providing all these places with my email address, which is, again, not hers. The only piece of information she has never provided is her phone number, so I have not been able to call her, although I did send her a Christmas card last year that read, Irene, Merry Christmas, stop telling people your email address is my email, it isn't, it's mine. Recently, it appears that Irene has been trying to buy a new house, and is planning a trip to Venice. I know this, because I got all the confirmations of her travel plans from her travel agent, as well as all the confirmations from her mortgage broker and insurance agent. This resulted, a couple weeks ago, in somewhere in the neighborhood of 70 emails a day, informing me of every detail of each of these transactions. So, I followed my usual approach. I emailed the agents back, and, probably slightly less politely than I could have been, informed the agents that Irene is once again giving out my email address as her own, and I have no interest in any of the private documents they had sent her. Apparently, they tried to call her. Unfortunately, I suspect they all tried to call her within a few minutes of each other to tell her the same thing, and she got very angry with all of them. She told them, very rudely, that in fact my email address is hers, and people needed to stop telling her that it wasn't, and why hadn't any of them sent her any emails yet confirming all of this stuff she was trying to do. Not long after, I separately got apologetic emails from each of them, the insurance agent, the travel agent, and the mortgage broker, telling me that they were very sorry, but Irene was very insistent that this was her email address, so they couldn't remove it from her account. This seems very stupid to me, but I am not American and do not understand American rules. So I told them that since I was apparently Irene, and I am completely sure that I did not apply for a mortgage, or for insurance, that all of those should be cancelled immediately. The mortgage broker told me that if we did that, we may not meet the date required in the contract for the removal of subjects. I told him that since I, Irene, was not applying for a mortgage, that didn't matter. The travel agent, who it seems had received the majority of the earful from Irene, seemed completely indifferent to my request to cancel my trip to Venice. She did tell me that there might be a cancellation fee for the original flight to Frankfurt. Why she was flying to Frankfurt to get to Venice, I have no idea. I assume there are no direct flights to Italy. So I told her to cancel all the rest of the flights and hotel rooms except the original flight to Frankfurt. Don't want to cost Irene that extra $20 after all. I have not heard anything further, and I am a little sad about that, as there's a part of me that loves the idea of Irene flying to Frankfurt, getting there and realizing all her connecting and return flights are cancelled. And I do wonder if she ever bought that house. But at least the emails have stopped. Update. I just heard back from the mortgage broker. Apparently I gave them all a good laugh. They realized I am not Irene, of course, since my name is on the email, and were just as frustrated with her as I was by her failure to sign and return the documents they had been emailing her. Apparently Irene is using a company email that is hosted in Gmail. So she signs into Gmail, but, this is my interpretation, her address is something like my address at hairorganization.com, and once they told her they had a request to cancel everything from the email address she had provided, she immediately sent them an email from her account. He thanked me, because the documents need to be signed by Tuesday, and Irene was giving them quite an earful because she had not received them yet. The travel agent just said, "My apologies, we've fixed the problem, you will not receive any further emails, please delete the ones you have received." So since I ended up helping her actually successfully buy her house, does this technically count as a good deed?